Welcome to Miss Smith's class to Gloucester in England. I'm Bishop Michael, the Bishop of Gloucester. This is my home and I'm going to invite you into it now. I'm going to take you to one of the loveliest rooms in the house. Most houses haven't got a room like this because it's a little church. We call it a chapel in the house itself. So come with me. So here we are now in the little church, the chapel in my house. It's a rather beautiful room. And I'm going to talk about Christmas a little bit because you're preparing for Christmas and so are we, so am I. The story of Christmas, of course, begins with a woman called Mary. And here is what's called an icon of Mary. Mary is a young woman to whom God sends a message that she is to be the mother of his son. And that's a story we call the Annunciation. The angel Gabriel comes to Mary. Blessed are you among women, says the angel, and then prepares Mary for this amazing news that she's to be a mother, but not just any ordinary mother, but the mother of God's Son. And that happened in Nazareth. And so there is Mary. In the icon here, her child Jesus is already born. But as we prepare for Christmas, we think of Mary before the child is born, thinking about what's going to happen to her, preparing for the birth of her son. And then as Christmas draws near, we begin to think not so much of Nazareth, where the angel came to Mary, but of Bethlehem, where Mary travels with Joseph, her husband. They had to go there because the Roman emperor decided it was time to take a census of all the people in the Roman Empire, discover who they'd got and where they lived and where they came from. So Mary and Joseph set off, it's a famous story, set off for Bethlehem. And it was while they were in Bethlehem that the baby was born. And at Christmas, what we do in our churches and sometimes in our houses is to have a little representation of the birth of Jesus in what we call the Christmas crib. And I thought what I might do for you now would be to unpack the things in the Christmas crib that will go in this chapel. It's a bit early to do that because it's not Christmas yet, so I might put them away again after I've shown them to you. But they'll come out again on Christmas Eve, the 24th of December. So we'll start with Mary. Mary, who's to be the mother of Jesus, and we'll put her where I normally put her, just in front of the altar here in my chapel. So we'll put her there. And next to Mary, there'll be Joseph. Joseph, who we think of as being rather older than Mary, though the Bible, our sacred book, doesn't tell us that, but people always imagine him as a slightly older father. And there he is, holding a lantern, which they needed because they weren't in the house, but they were out in the stable. And there would have been no other light, not even a candle. And a candle would have been dangerous with the straw. So Joseph has a light, a lantern. And then in the middle of the night, as they shelter in that stable because there was no room for them in the local pub, hotel, the child Jesus is born. Here's this little baby, and they lay him in the straw, in the manger. And you notice this little halo round his head, which is there to indicate this is somebody special, this is somebody holy. This, for Christians, is the Son of God. So let's put him there in the care of Mary and Joseph. And just as Jesus has been born, the story tells us that out in the fields outside the town there were shepherds. And the shepherds suddenly had a visit from the angels who came to tell them about the birth of this baby. And they rushed into Bethlehem, leaving their sheep, went to Bethlehem to see the baby. Now my Christmas crib hasn't got any shepherds, but a lot of Christmas cribs have. So we need to move quickly on in my story to the next set of visitors to the baby. And these were three, sometimes they're called astrologers, sometimes kings, sometimes wise men, who came from far away, well to the east of where Jesus was born. And they brought with them gifts of gold and incense and myrrh. They must have been an extraordinary sight turning up in this little town of Bethlehem. There are 3 of them. The Bible doesn't say there were 3, but it says there were 3 gifts, gold and incense and myrrh, so it's a pretty good guess there were 3 of them. So let's put them quickly into the crib. 1 and 2 and 3. In fact, it was a while before they arrived. They had to come a long way. And there's a special day when we remember them and their arrival, which isn't Christmas Day, but 12 days later, what's called the Feast of the Epiphany. Now, what does it all mean? For Christians, it means that here was the birth of Jesus Christ, who's the one who gives us a clue to what God, who we cannot see, is like. So you look, you see the baby, and the baby who grows into a man, and you say, God is like that little child, God is like that man. Jesus somehow showed God in a way that nobody else ever has. And so Jesus brought and brings light into the world, which is why Christians, like people of other faiths, often have lighted candles to show the goodness of God. And in particular, the light is for us a sign of Jesus. St. John writes in the Bible that the light was coming into the world, and he meant Jesus. So you can see in the chapel, all around, you can see there are lights. And in particular, this is called the Advent wreath. And we have it for the 4 weeks before Christmas. And on each Sunday, we light another candle. As you can see, I'm recording this in the first week of Advent, so only 1 candle is alight, but next Sunday another, and then another, and then another, and then the one in the middle for Christmas Day. And in a sense, although we sometimes say those candles stand for different things, all candles, all lights in the Christian tradition stand for Jesus, who called himself the light of the world. And the prophet Isaiah says somewhere in the Bible, "Come, let us walk in the light of the Lord." And that's what Christians want to do. They want to walk in the way of Jesus, and they see that as walking in the light of the Lord. It's really important, of course, to say that Christmas is only the beginning. Jesus grows like any other child through his boyhood to become a man. And in a sense, Christians believe they see the meaning of God and God's love in its most full form, not just in the little crib and the baby, but actually when Jesus grows to be a man and shows his love for the world when he's lifted up on the cross and dies for people. And that's the same Jesus, no longer a baby, now a man. And that event, when he died on the cross, as important as the first event, when he was laid in the crib, in the manger. So I wish you all a really happy Christmas, and I hope that you will rejoice with Christians in Jesus, who is the light of the world.